Hello, everyone. This is Madeline Reinhart, and I am so grateful to Miss Gigi Young. We have her on again. So thank you for being on again. We tried to do this before, and it was live, and it was kind of messy. And so she agreed to come on again and give us her wisdom. She is, for those of you that don't know, she has a very fascinating background. She was a former fashion model, a former atheist, and now she's this spiritual guru. She has a wide audience on YouTube. On her YouTube channel, she discusses everything from spirituality and guides, intuition, different types of beings I was watching, to even aliens. So that's really interesting. So I can't wait to get further on that topic. But in the meantime, everyone, welcome Miss Gigi Young. Yay! Hi, Gigi. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me.
So welcome. Thank you for being on here. I wanted to first really get a feel for those of the people on the line that may not have a lot of background on you. Would you mind going into your spiritual journey from atheist to where you are now?
Yeah. So I was raised atheist and in an atheist household by very scientific parents who really didn't believe in spirituality, and to the point where they thought that if you believed in spirituality or other beings or anything, even religious, it was weak. And I've always seen things differently. I've always seen dead people and alterdimensional beings and all of that stuff. So then growing up in that household was very challenging. And it wasn't until I actually moved away from where I grew up, and I grew up in a really small town in the Rocky Mountains as well in Canada, which very little exposure to anything as well. So, which is maybe good because it's really clean. But, and then it wasn't until I moved away and I was on my own and in my own energy that I really started to wake up to and accept how I saw the world. And, you know, that's when my spirituality really started.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it was not necessarily a guru or a certain person, but it was actually just being on your own. What was happening while you were on your own? Were your just thoughts getting clear, or what do you think it was about being alone that solidified that, you know, this is legitimate? I'm seeing dead people. I'm seeing beings.
Well, I think I reached a point in my life where I could either accept that I was schizophrenic or crazy, which is such a dismissive thing to say to people who are having genuine spiritual experiences, to just dismiss them and say that they're mad. I could either think that, or I could say, you know what, I'm going to explore the reality that I clearly am in. So I guess I just committed to it. And then anytime that you're on your own and you're in your own energy, you feel your own genuine self. So that's why it's so important for people to be on their own and be in their own space. If you're never alone, you will never know yourself. So I was alone on my own for a long time, and I just kind of committed to discovering what was going on. And I really found a lot of stuff on YouTube. There was a lot of alternative, which I think you were talking about at the beginning, like aliens and multidimensional beings. There's a whole other side to spirituality that is not in the bookstore. And you can't really find a lot of information on certain things. And when I kind of opened up, it was just angels and guides and things. And I went to YouTube, and the people that I liked were people like very grassroots who were talking about this kind of really alternative spiritual stuff, which is becoming more mainstream now.
Yes, it is. I for one, I know you're a fan of Bashar as well. I just think and I think that's actually a good point, because a lot of the spirituality that we take in, it's kind of fluffy, fairy. It is one-sided, or it has one sort of look aesthetic to it. And we don't quite explore, well, what else is there to spirituality? Because surely it's not, and there's nothing wrong, I don't think, with the fairies and the fluff and the feel good, because, you know, to me, the spiritual journey is emotional. But what attracted you to this other side? Because I think where most people might look at that and be like, oh, that's scary, that's the devil. You know, if you're raised Judeo-Christian, you might think, oh, I can't even, you know, you get this sort of knee-jerk reaction of fear. What drew you to that?
To other beings?
Yeah, to the other beings, or to not so much the fluffy side. Does that make sense? The fluffy side of spirituality.
Yeah, I enjoyed it like for a long time, and I think that like you, I think it's very healing, and I do think it's very real. But I think that it's evolving. I think spirituality is evolving, and I feel like for me personally, when I got into a very strong meditation routine and I started to connect with guides, the guides that came forward to me were actually extraterrestrial. I didn't have angelic beings with wings. I didn't have a Native American Indian chief like a lot of people have, or, you know, whatever. I didn't have that. I had alien beings that were very different, and I was like, that was so not what I was expecting, and it was a whole different paradigm, a whole different world, but that's, and I just accepted it, I guess, and I just was like, well, I guess they're here, so I guess I'll talk to them and see what they want to say.
Very cool. That's very brave. I think that's very brave to charge through with that. Okay, so you touched on meditation, which is something I'm very fond of. Okay, so how did you meditation? You said that was instrumental in helping you communicate with your guides. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. What was the practice? I mean, was there a certain ritual or time of day or amount of time that you were practicing daily that helped, or what do you think about meditation helped the most?
Yeah, actually, I was traveling by myself at the time with work, and I was actually in Tokyo, and no one spoke my language. I was so by myself and alone that the only thing I could really do was sit in silence. So I was like forced into meditating by myself for like an hour a day, basically. And I would like do mantras to just keep my mind doing something, like churning. And that is the practice that did it for me. And I would do it every day in the afternoon. And I did it for like 2 weeks. And then that's when I popped open and I started hearing guides and seeing things and everything like that. And I guess I had raised my frequency enough to actually pop into their world.
Oh,
and,
wow.
you know, and that's what happens when you meditate. You reach a very strong level of harmony and coherence, and then you can actually peer into other worlds, and you can actually connect with beings that aren't here.
That's a really good point, because it's like, what I'm a follower of Abraham Hicks, and they always teach that, you know, we're always here, but we're not going to dip down to you. You have to come up to us. So the fact is that we all have access to this. I like the expression being popped open. It's kind of like you're raising all of a sudden, you know. So was that popping or reaching that level? Were there sort of, I guess, signs? I'm not sure if that's the best word, but symptoms of, wow, I'm getting higher. Wow, like, did you know something was happening, or was it kind of like a pop?
Yeah, you know what? I started getting really strong visuals, and I started seeing words like projected really strongly in my mind. And I actually started to feel other, like, different energy. I could actually feel almost like someone else was in the room, or something else was here. Like the energy in the room would definitely change. And it was really familiar, and a lot of people get really afraid of talking about connecting with your guides or going into other worlds because they automatically feel out of control. But any time that I've ever opened up, even the guides that come forward are just only aspects of your own consciousness. The first guide that I met that was Pleidian was just me in another life, in another timeline. It was part of my oversoul. No one can come to you that isn't somehow connected to you, or that you aren't resonating in some way. So the energy that I felt was really familiar. It felt like me. And that's why also being alone is good, is because you actually get to feel what you feel like, and you can compare it with what other beings feel like, and it's a more revealing experience.
That reminds me of, there's this thing called Vipassana. It's a type of meditation, and people go on these 10-day silent retreats where you can't look at someone, you can't talk, I'm pretty sure you can't even journal. You're just silent. You're silent and you don't talk. And I see that as almost a way of detoxifying that the sound pollution or the energy pollution. So is that pretty much? I mean, was that what you were going through? Just this silence? That is that kind of what you're talking about, Vipassana?
Actually, yeah, that pretty much was, yeah. It really was. It was really just like very to my own world. Like there was definitely noise, but I didn't understand anything. I didn't understand it. So it was very much like I was very isolated. Yeah.
Do you think it's possible for someone that that maybe does not have? Do you think it's possible to reach that level without secluding yourself, or do you think that's a necessary part of doing the journey? Go ahead.
I think that everybody opens up in their own way. I've had clients, and I know of people who have opened up from Kundalini awakenings in yoga, or from just even randomly. I think everybody has their own journey and their own thing, but it's easier if you do get to know yourself, and it's easier if you do have that alone time, because you need that level of coherence. And if we're around people all the time, then there's distractions. That's why, when you look at the Buddha and a lot of spiritual masters, they did spend a lot of time alone, because I do feel like it makes things easier.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so you mentioned a couple of really cool things. So one was that you found out that your main spirit guide was the Pleidian. And before I get into that, do we have a main spirit guide, or why do you think that one was the first one that came through to you?
Yeah, the first one was Pleiadian, and she came through because her energy was closer in density to mine, and because we had a pact with each other to start working with each other at that time. And she was supposed to work with me on like things like self-love, self-acceptance, a lot of self-healing and inner healing, and also develop my abilities in my heart. Pleiadian energy is very, very good at opening up your heart. It's very, very good at self-love and self-acceptance, which is really the foundation of anything you want to do spiritually. So that's why she came forward first. And then after I had integrated a lot of stuff with her, then other beings came forward after that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and we all have so many different ones. And for me, I've always experienced guides as kind of coming forward, depending also on what is happening in your life. So you can have a couple main guides, but you can also have guides that step in to specifically help you with something. Yeah.
Interesting. Can they help us though if we don't reach that level, we don't raise our vibration to the level where we actually can access them?
They can push through. They can and they will push through. It all depends on what you need vibrationally, because your guides sort of look at you and your the strings of energy that make you up and your vibrational tone, and they can tell exactly how their energy is going to affect you. And there are many occasions where they will push through and they will assert themselves to let you know that they're there, especially in the beginning when you're just learning how to connect with them. They will kind of give you flashes of them looking at you and connecting with you. So they can assert themselves, but eventually you'll have to learn how to, if you really want to get good information and you really want to connect, you'll have to probably learn to meet them.
Interesting. I always had the sense, I feel like empathically, so I've always had the sense that I was never alone, and that, to be honest, it always freaked me out. So I guess for the young person or whomever is exploring this and is maybe scared of thinking of getting visions or getting something like they can understand, like an alien, finding out something like an alien is their guide. I mean, was it scary for you, or what was the experience like for you? I guess, can you shine some light on the introduction?
I was like fascinated. Yeah. I was like, wow. When I first connected, I just kept seeing the word written Pleiadians and Pleiades in like purple writing around it. And I was fascinated, and I ignored it for a long time. I was like, You know, I was like, no. And then I Googled it and I was like, wow, like these are beings who do this. They like visit people in meditations and they connect with you. And so other people were having these experiences. It was kind of hard to find because this happened to me in about 2008, I think, around there. So there wasn't a lot of it. So I was more fascinated. I wasn't really scared at all. I don't know why. I guess that makes me a weirdo, but I just, they felt loving. And I knew that fear creates more fear as well. So I didn't want to start that.
No, absolutely. And then so you mentioned too, you had a pact with this one. So that always raises the question, like, do we have a destiny? Like, before we came in our bodies, we were like, I'm going to accomplish this around this time. I mean, do we have a sense of it's going to happen no matter what, or where does personal responsibility come in, or even the true idea of free will?
Right. What they've shown me is that it's more thresholds. So we build up certain levels of energy and experience through our life, and then there's certain thresholds that we meet. And that's what we experience kind of like as destiny. And our life theme is always pulling us in a certain direction. You know, so basically we're supposed to meet our thresholds, and there's certain percentages that show us whether or not we're going to meet them. And so if you incarnate into this life, into this environment, there's basically a certain percentage as to whether or not you're going to do certain things. So that's where the destiny kind of comes in, and it's all based in the climate of the earth socially, the different cycles that are happening within there, and then you have your own cycle. So it all kind of comes together in whether or not you meet these thresholds. And if I was to get to a certain threshold within my consciousness, then I was going to have an opportunity to do that. Of course, I had the free will to not do that and go a different way, but that would have been painful because this was my purpose. So anything else would have been painful, pushing me into that threshold, but it was definitely my choice whether or not to do it. And you have them continuing in your life as well, other thresholds that you have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's almost fascinating. I almost see it like we are, and I heard it once described as you got to know the rules of the game, referring to life, I assume. And I'm like, what are you talking? But it almost makes me feel like there's these beings that are like watching us, like calculating. Have these like Excel sheets, and it is like a game. But seriously, is that how you see it? Like they're calculating. Okay, she's on this path and on this trajectory, and at a certain amount of time she'll be here, and that's too fast, so we got to slow her down. Or is it a game, or how would you, or is it all really that logically planned out, or how would you describe?
There's there's only really two ways you can go. One way is you resist everything and you slow down your trajectory and you maybe go off course in little branches. And then there's a fast way, which is actually surrender. Surrender and letting go is the fastest way to make sure that you meet your threshold. So usually when we connect with our guides, especially in this cycle that we're in on Earth right now, usually when you connect with your guides, they're usually trying to get you to let go and surrender. And that's really what makes you meet your growth cycles on time. And as for like, I'm not sure exactly how exact they get with it. There's so many different timelines happening all at once that I'm sure that they're pretty aware of them at all times. Yeah.
Okay. So is our body kind of just like a pawn in this game? Does that make sense?
Our physical body?
Physical body. I mean, it almost kind of feels like we're this pawn, like you got to go here. And I know you say we can't, we got to surrender. But even the idea of surrender, okay, I guess the better question is for you, what does surrender mean? Does it mean you get to just, what does that mean? Like, how do people surrender?
I think surrender is the relaxing of where we are. And right now we're sort of in a phase where we're leaving this action phase where we're really pushing all the time, where we have to be busy all the time, and we force everything, and it's kind of a masculine cycle that we're leaving. So as we leave that cycle, we're really going into that more feminine energy, which is surrender and letting go. So that's what we're really integrating on a collective, is the letting go portion.
I totally agree with that. And I see archetypes of this feminine energy popping up. I totally agree. And it made me wonder too, so prior to this upheaval of the feminine energy, you know, people criticize the masculine push energy, but we had to be that because that was the cycle we were in. Is that correct?
We were just leaving an imbalanced feminine cycle. So then we went into the masculine cycle where we're like, okay, we need to have action and get things done and do things and really embody the masculine. Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So now we're cycling back into the feminine, which is surrender and integrating those different, things.
How interesting. I want to touch on that too. So obviously with an imbalanced, one of the main things with the imbalanced masculine is stress and anxiety, at least from what I'm seeing. An imbalance of the feminine, what would that look like to you?
Yeah, stress and anxiety is a big one. Also being obsessed with being busy, can't sit still and can't get things,
Hyperactive.
Too much action. That's imbalanced masculine. Imbalanced feminine is basically not wanting to do anything, not wanting to get things done, laziness, being in inactivity, that would be like that. Also, using your intuition, but not bringing your logical mind in to temper it. So just kind of not really using your logical mind, sinking too much into, gut instinct. What else would be an imbalanced feminine? Probably never grounding anything as well. Having a lot of different ideas and inspirations, but never truly really grounding them as well would be an imbalance there too.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. Do you think, obviously the feminine's coming to rise, do you think it's going to be an imbalance of too much feminine before we actually understand true and live and embody true balance between the masculine and feminine?
I feel like we went through that. I feel like we went through this cycle where it was almost like a matriarchy. And I've had a lot of visions about this and seen this in different times where it was kind of like a matriarchy and it was completely imbalanced feminine. And then we swung into the imbalanced masculine. And I feel like now we're just bringing in a feminine wave. But I feel like it's actually going to be much more egalitarian. It's going to be much more of a balance between the two finally.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really awesome to hear. Okay, cool. For you, I'm curious. So you're kind of like the alien guru. What part do our extraterrestrial friends and counterparts, what part are they playing in making sure this happens? Or evolving it, I guess.
Yeah, well, each one of us really has a very strong connection to the cosmos, and I feel like everybody's going to become much more aware of our connection to the cosmos, first of all. And in general, the Pleiadian beings have a very strong role in reintroducing heart energy and feminine energy. So there's going to be a really big wave of people feeling kind of connected to the Pleiades and the Pleiadians. That's going to be a big one. And it's going to be a really natural process for humanity. It's really going to be something that we already know how to do on our own. And I feel like they'll probably just assist us in making sure that we're doing it, if anything.
I feel that for me personally, I feel a lot of heart connection. I feel the importance of going to the heart. And I feel like I see that, like, go to your heart, the heart space. And for personal reasons, I feel very connected to the heart too. So would you say that's a lot of the Pleiadian influence? Are they I guess meditating on us getting that? Or how are we reaching the level where we're actually just feeling them?
It's 7 o'clock.
How is that happening? Does that make sense?
How do we connect with Pleiadians?
Like, how are we picking that up? Are they exerting it? Are they exerting that energy, that heart energy onto us? Or are we just actually collectively or personally reaching that level where we're just finally picking it up?
Both. Absolutely both. And a lot of people have also consciously and subconsciously asked to activate their heart. And so the Pleiadians have really answered that energy. They've responded because their core energy is basically what we feel as heart energy. So they've really answered our call for that.
Would you, if you were advising someone that was new to the whole idea of extraterrestrials and might even be scared, what's something that you could share with them to help enlighten them to a new way of understanding what exactly ETs are and what you know about them?
Yeah. So basically, as with any ultra-dimensional being, any type of being that is ET or even just a guide, any kind of guide, you're only going to attract to you what you are. So if you are full of love and peace and connectedness and trust and stillness, and you're really embodying that, then you will attract to you a being that also resonates with that energy. If you are really afraid or kind of negative, or you have those kind of issues going on, then you're actually going to attract an ET or any being that's going to bring those out of you. So whenever it comes to connecting with ETs or any kind of spiritual beings, it's all about personal responsibility and knowing where you are emotionally and where you are vibrationally, because you're going to attract exactly what you are. There is no such thing as being victimized by an ET or anybody in the spiritual realm, anyone in the spiritual realm. You only attract what you are. The spectrum of beings that you can connect with is so big that the only way they can connect with you is via your own resonance, your own spectrum that you have. So they can't even, a negative being can't even see you if you have a lot of love in your heart. They can't even perceive you because you're not even within their spectrum. So there's really nothing to be afraid of. And if you do have a fearful experience, then it's all about just pulling that love in your heart and pulling that high vibrational frequency in your heart. So you're always in total control of your experience.
Totally agree with that. So so that leads me to my last question, and then I want to get into Gigi fun facts. But for you, we kind of discussed this before in the last time, but feel free to go in a different direction. But for you, then, what is the one piece of advice? What is something that if you could tell anyone and everyone, what's something that you would communicate with them to help them get through this thing called life?
I would say connect with your heart. Your heart is always giving you moment-to-moment advice on what to do. If you ever don't know what to do, connect with your heart and you will get a sensation as to what to do next. Learn its language, connect with it, and you will feel ease all the time and you'll know exactly where to go. We only feel lost when we don't remember what our heart feels like and when we forget its language. So I would connect with your heart, learn its language, and you'll be so good.
I love, I don't know if you can, but we only feel lost when we've lost connection with our heart. I love that.
That's true, and it's true. It's the one part of us that is the seat of our soul on this planet, and when we lose that, we always feel empty. We always feel hollow. We're always searching, and we can be at home anywhere when we have this going.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, because that's so. Even when you say that, it's like it makes me want to just hug myself. It's like, yeah.
I know, you're like, I love me.
Self-love. Okay, cool. Oh, that was beautiful. Wow, thank you so much. Okay, so I want to kind of like what we did last time, but for those that didn't get to see it, I have 10 questions, and they're little fun facts, and it's going to be kind of like a fill in the blank. So, Gigi, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right, here we go. So, when I'm not making YouTube videos or coaching people, you can usually find me blank.
In the yoga studio.
Nice. Okay, 2. The thing I am most proud of is?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Probably, I have no idea what I am proud of.
Your channel? That's amazing. Like
I'm proud of my channel. Yeah.
oh my God, like you're amazing. Like you don't know what you're proud of. That's so funny. Okay, that's very humble. Okay, 3. The one thing that scares me is
the one thing that scares me. You know, I'm not afraid of too much. Oh, you know what I'd have to say is I really don't like cockroaches and like spiders, and I don't like that. Yeah, I don't like that happening at all.
You had a video about like part of you is mantis. That like there's a part of you that's embodied in a mantis, or would you mind like a second? Because that's interesting.
I have a mantis guide who's blue actually, but that's different. Yeah, I have a blue mantis guide who connected with me a few years ago, who I do connect with, and I hope that he's not offended by that.
No,
but I have to be honest. Like I'm not, like if I see, like if I'm going to bed and it's like there's like a spider on the wall, I'm like, no. Like I know it's going to crawl on me.
Some spiders. Wait, so okay, so one last thing actually. So the creatures we see on Earth, is there some sort of like spiritual or ET counterpart to them? And is that why when we see them, like I keep seeing a bat of late, and so I look up kind of the significance of bats. Does that mean that there's like a bat ET or a bat spiritual counterpart that's trying to communicate with me? Is that how it is for all the animals, you think, and insects?
Yeah, you know what? And plants.
And plants. Oh, crystals. Yeah.
Right? I do believe that everything takes an Adamic form. I feel like this 2 arms, 2 legs is kind of the form of this universe almost in full consciousness, or a certain level of awareness. I do feel like that is where a lot of beings evolve into. I don't know if it's mandatory, but I do feel like it's kind of the form. Yeah, I feel like there are highly evolved aspects of every creation. I feel like everything that is created is fully explored.
Interesting. Very cool. Okay, continuing on with fun facts. The one thing I would take back if I could is...
The one thing I would take back that if I could is... I don't know if I would, because I would be scared that I would like shift a timeline, and it would be different. Probably like stupid things that I did when I was younger, like in my 20s or something.
Oh God.
Yeah. Probably dumb things. Probably like being mean to people or something, or like, you know what I mean? Like just being mean or something. I probably would take that back.
Totally. Yeah. And especially when you realize where it's coming from, it's like, oh, I could have, or even other people when you feel like you're being imposed upon too, it's like they're reacting to that or not reacting. It's like Oprah talks about, as you learn more, you do better, or learn whatever it is. You do better as you know more, as you understand.
Yeah, people who know better do better.
That's it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, very cool. All right. And by the way, the idea of timelines, you go into that on your channel too, like all that stuff, right? So people, in case they're like, wait, what are you talking about? Shift timelines, like mantis,
It gets fully weird on my channel. I'm not going to lie to you. It gets weird, but it's fun.
It's very cool. Okay. All right. So the person that most inspires me is blank.
Children. Children inspire me the most because they're so unadulterated and so true in what they see and in who they are.
Amen. I love that.
Yeah.
In my next life, I think it would be awesome to be blank.
In my next life, I think it would be awesome. Oh, to be a crystal. I would think it'd be amazing to just be a crystal, because they have consciousness.
Do you think you would know, like, oh, I'm a crystal and this person's picking me up and I'm just vibrating my love to them? Or what do you think that would be like?
Yeah, like it's like I'm absorbing all of your secrets and energy and like storing it. And I feel like crystals, they always vibrate a very specific frequency. And I feel like being a crystal would really, you would really embody a very pure tone. Like with rose quartz, I feel like if you were, I know. So like,
that's amazing.
I always do my sessions with this on my lap. So if you were a rose quartz, I feel like you would fully understand what it was like to be heart energy. Like I feel like you would fully understand a ray of energy if you were a crystal. So that's why I think it'd be so cool.
Interesting. Very cool. All right, and cool thing that you picked out, you had rose quartz, and you're talking about the Pleidian heart energy, and that's, I mean, that's totally what you like give off. It's just like this connection and heart. So that's really cool. So do you think that parts of you are in that rose quartz, and that's why you guys attracted each other?
Yeah, maybe this is like me as a crystal. I never thought. Thank you. I never thought of that.
Very cool. All right, cool. A couple more. The one thing I kind of went over this a little bit, but the one thing I want everyone to know is.
One thing I want everyone to know is that everything is inside of you. There's no need to go to any spiritual teacher or any source outside of yourself for anything. Everything is within you. All the answers are in there.
Yeah, but you do that. And actually I wanted to ask you are a spiritual coach and an intuitive counselor. And right. I wanted to ask, as an intuitive counselor, what does that mean? What are you doing?
Yeah, so it's like an intuitive consultant. So basically what I do is I look at your timelines. I look at what are you heading into? What is the energy around you? Where are your blocks? Because if we can understand that on a spiritual level, then we can get you manifesting properly. We can get you on the right path, on your highest timeline that you can do right now. So it's really about approaching manifestation and change and healing from a spiritual level, and then going from there. So many things in our life evolve on a spiritual level, and when we approach that, then that's when we actually get real change.
You mean like that spiritual level, meaning we're not really consciously aware of all the changes that are going on, and you can pick up on that?
Right. So like, for example, a spiritual level is sometimes there's 4 different issues happening in your life, like weight gain and a crappy relationship, and then something else, and it's overwhelming. But there's one root to it, and it's a belief. And when you look at it from a spiritual level, you can very clearly see it.
Yeah. Very cool. I love that. All right, last one is, after this interview, I plan on blank.
After this interview, I plan on going for a walk, because it's actually nice here. It's
raining here. Oh, yay. That's so, like, this was very heartwarming. And again, thank you so much for doing this again. The first time was just really bizarre. But Gigi, you're lovely. You guys, you can find Gigi at 𝔠𝔲𝔞𝔶.com. And she also has a blog,
Moonbird. Sorry.
Moonbird. You said it wrong. Moonbird blog, right?
Right.
Yeah, moonbirdblog.com. Very insightful, and it's very peaceful. You go to and you see, like, the first thing you do is you see like this house on this beach, and it's just very serene. So you exude that. And she mentioned she talks about lots of crazy stuff, lots of really interesting stuff on her channel, and she does intuitive consulting and spiritual coaching. And I'm just so happy that I got to speak with her. So Gigi, thank you so much for being on the Heart Space.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, well, you take care. Well, I'll see you on YouTube.
All right. I will see you on YouTube.
Bye, Gigi.
Bye.